So, if you play Elden Ring, you've probably seen a lot of videos of people doing the unimaginable in the game. Face-tanking bosses, one-shotting bosses, chasing bosses, and if you are a normal person and not a sweat-ass that is stuck in your Doritos chair, you've probably looked at that and said, well, that's cool, and followed your life like a normal person. But you are terminally ill like me. You questioned yourself, why my character doesn't do this? And the answer is actually because your character is pure trash, and he probably looks like this. So happy for you, I am quite an unoccupied person, and I made this video telling you how to make your build that look like this. Become this. If you see, he got a Lucette staff, a Rogier rapier, and a Moonveil, and it is actually a quite interesting setup for a incaster build. If you slap a Shard of Alexander, a Ritual Sword Talisman, a Godfrey Icon, and a Magic Scorpion Charm, it would go pretty hard, but instead of that, he built this. From this point of the game, which looks like the mountaintops, Radagon, Scar or Sorcio isn't worth anymore. These status aren't that useful at this point of the game, and you're basically taking more damage for free. He got a Green Turtle Talisman, which is cool. It can fit in almost every build. He has something that looks like a Griffin Skull Talisman that could be interesting because looks like he's a caster, but then he got a Crimson Ember medallion. It increases your max health by a percentage. It is kinda strange, but it could work. But I mean, no, actually no, because that's his stats. The 31 Vigor could be interesting if you know what you're doing and you want to spend points in more intelligence to deal more damage, but that doesn't make any sense with the Ember Medallion, because as said, it increases your max health by a percentage, and guess what? A percentage of a little is still a little, then boom, like 30 fucking 8 into mine. I know he is Elon Musk, but you don't need to be the mastermind in the game too, bro. Bro think if he level mine, he'll be able to craft a M4A1 and make America great again, or something like this. And the fact is, you don't even need to level mine in caster builds. If you're building correctly, you will do enough damage to kill the bosses before you finish your mana flasks. He got a mere 23 endurance, which could be interesting if he spent the remaining points into intelligence to deal more damage, but then you look at his armor. I mean, bro, you already have a small stamina bar, and you don't have endurance to equip a lot of things without getting heavy load. So why the fuck you equip this? Seriously, I know Radagon's armor is really cool, but why are always guys like this that are caught using this armor? I don't need to say that obviously he's heavy load, which is terribly terrible for a supposed caster build that is supposedly maximizing damage. Ideally, with these weapons, you would play around the Ashes of War and his sorceries, searching to stack the shit out of damage to melt the bosses. But instead of this, with this build, he doesn't have a good amount of health to tank, and he's taking increasing damage. That isn't fun when you take more damage by a late game enemy. He doesn't have enough endurance to not be heavy loaded or to actually like dodge, and the damage probably isn't that good to be a functional caster. So you see that the way your items work with each other is the main thing. Check how this build would go with just better talismans. You need to have in mind the way you are interested to play in the run and build around it. And when I say the way you want to play, is actually the way you want to deal damage. With charge attacks, jump attacks, sorceries, incantations. And if you don't know where to find the items to build around, just search, man. A redditor cannot say that you are bad because of it. I mean, look at this guy. Probably the hardest run he ever did was like beat the game with both hands. He probably cries to this day about the red bad invaders ravaging his ass in multiplayer. So just search in the internet a build focused in the way you want to play the game, and you can be sure you will find someone probably made a build that you are looking for. And remember, don't let the bad Discord mods say that you are playing the game wrong because of it. I trust you, Pookie Bear. Okay, so first, you need to think in how you will deal damage. Let's say, for example, you chose a melee build and you want to use hammers, but not only hammers, you want the great hammers. So you spawn in Lingrave and instantly get the large club, and since it is a great hammer, it performs really well into charged attack builds. After walking around, leveling up your character, getting the minimum stats for the large club, then focusing into vigor, you leveled your weapon a bit to around +2, then what comes next? Your weapon can get even better with the cozy, steamy and juicy Ashes of War. The Ashes of War are special skills that you can equip in your weapons. They can be self or aura buffs, weapon buffs, just make a fancy move to deal damage, or just make some random shit. In short words, they are very versatile. In Lingrave you can find two very good Ashes of War for the large club. The Resolve and Endure. Let's say you got Endure because it increases by a lot your poise and gives you 45% damage negation. You already have sort of a playstyle to play around. Just buff yourself with the Ash of War and do a charged attack. Now you probably want to fill this yummy talisman slot in your inventory, and guess what? In Lingrave you have this slimy charged attack talisman. You already have a pretty good build, but you can get even better. In Lingrave you have this cool Wanderer's Flask, and coincidentally you have a charged attack tier for this flask. After giving Margit a brain aneurysm, you leveled up a bit and put everything into health. Walked around and got a +5 large club, then got a green turtle talisman for Lingrave for a better stamina regen. It is good for this build since charged attacks consumes a lot of stamina. After that you can go to Godric and the playstyle actually works, so just mash his brain like a watermelon. In Liurnia you don't have exactly an item for this build, The thing you will focus more is material upgrades. If you want a more defensive option for Liurnia, you can change the Turtle Talisman for the Spell Drake that you can fight in Weeping Peninsula. It increases your magic resist. Here in Liurnia you can explore the consumables that are in flasks. You just need to make the Bogart's quest in Liurnia to have an infinite amount of boiled crabs, which buffs your physical resistance. In K-Lead, your plus 10 to plus 13 weapon is still fine. Here you can find an interesting Edge of War, which synergizes really well with the large club. Again, the idea of synergizing is present. A talisman and a tier that boosts charged attacks, a weapon that is good with charged attacks, a more tanky build for you to eat some hits, and that's pretty much how you think to build. Before getting out of K-Lead, you can get the Dragon Crest Shield Talisman, which buffs your physical resistance. In autos, your weapon should be around plus 15 to plus 17, which is enough to clear the entire autos plateau. Here you can get the final talisman slot and the Shield Ritual Talisman and the Dragon Crest Shield plus 1. From here, the build is basically done. I think that the idea is pretty set. That's basically how you do a good build. Now with better gear, you can get a better crystal tier, which is the Opaline Heart tier that buffs your damage negations, and get the other variants and the upgrades of the Drake talismans, like the Pearl Drake, Spell Drake, and the Helic Drake. By the very end of the game I didn't even got maxed out flasks. Basically all the runes that I got were from killing the main bosses, so I didn't explore the open world. If you are actually doing the open world, it will be way better than this character that I've made. And the thing is that the same character could get this build even better. Pushing to the DLC, you can get the Golden Braid, the Pearl Drake Talisman plus 3, and with maxed out flasks and Skadu 3 levels, the fight against Radahn go pretty well, even if you're playing like a brain dead. In conclusion, the build is a starter vagabond, a large club. If you have the DLC, you can get the X Talisman and the Drake Talismans plus 3. If you only have the base game, you can get the X Talisman, the Dragon Crest Great Shield, and the rest of the Drake Talismans plus 2. I ended up level 105 and leveled up 60 levels of Vigor, 40 of Endurance, 15 of Faith to cast Flame Grant Me Strength, which is a optional buff that you can get, and 30 levels of Strength. For consumables, you can use the Boiled Crab and Morgoth's Great Rune for a max health boost. The idea of the build is to be tanky enough to just spam charged attacks and stun lock enemies without actually caring to punish windows. Basically, the progression of this build is to maintain the X Talisman for the entire game, and until you get the actual good Drake Talismans, you just equip some placeholder talismans like the Green Turtle, the Ritual Shield. The focus is is to have only the X talisman to deal damage and the other 3 slots for tanking. You can build whatever you want if you follow this line of thought. Think about the focus of your build and how to make this focus work. For example, if you want a more slow build, you would want to be more tanky since you are slower. If you are a glass cannon, you probably would play around range and to avoid to actually engage with the bosses. Or if you have a more fast build, you probably want to maximize your hits and your dodges to get even more punish windows. That's basically it.